Students, we will proceed further in our chapter. So now we will discuss about the levels of classification. So Carl Woese was a scientist who classified all the organisms into three main categories, which is called as domains. Or we can say that Carl Woese classified all the organisms into three domains on the basis of cell type. And this classification system is also called as fundamental ranks. So there are total of three domains or three fundamental ranks of organisms. And all these three ranks we can see as archaea, eubacteria, and eukaryota. So there are a total of three groups among the all the living organisms, and archaea and eubacteria comes under the prokaryote. Now we'll understand all these three domains one by one. So first we will understand the archaea. So archaea is the domain which which is consist of a single kingdom which is called as archaebacteria. So archaea, when we are seeing the characters of the organism which comes under the archaea, are simple in organization, and they are found in extreme environments such as uh, high salt areas, those are called as halophiles, hot springs, which are called as thermophiles, and marshy areas, which are called as methanogens. So the organism comes under this archaea. They used to reside in extreme environmental conditions where no life exists. And the cell wall of these archaea is composed of pseudopeptidoglycans, and in their genetic structure, or we can say the DNA, the introns are present. And when we are talking about its type, then the examples are methanogens, halophytes, and thermophiles. And methanogens are the bacteria, or we can say the archaeobacteria, which are present in the ruminant's stomach. Now we'll discuss about the eubacteria. Eu means true. So the true bacteria come under this eubacteria domain. And again, it is having a single kingdom, eubacteria. So the organism or bacteria comes under the eubacteria is having several properties, such as it is characterized by the presence of a rigid cell wall, and if they are motile, then flagellum is present. They are somewhat complex as compared to the archaebacteria, and as we know, bacteria are ubiquitous, so they will present everywhere, and its cell wall is composed of peptidoglycans and muramic acid. So we can see the difference in the cell wall of archaebacteria and eubacteria, and here introns are absent. And when we are talking about its type, then we have classified the eubacteria into two main groups, gram positive and gram negative bacteria. Now we will discuss about the eukarya. Eu means two, karya means nucleus. So the organism comes under this eukarya are having two nucleus, and it is divided, or we can say it is composed of four kingdoms. So the four kingdoms are Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. And the organism comes under the eukarya are all eukaryotes, and these organisms are characterized by the presence of two nucleus. True nucleus means they will have the nuclear membrane along with the nucleolus, and these living forms are organized by symbiotic association between some archaebacteria and eubacteria. And as I have already told, that it is having four kingdoms: Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. Now we will discuss about the nomenclature. So up to now we have discussed about the classification. Now we will discuss about the nomenclature. So nomenclature is just the procedure of naming. So we can see the nomenclature is a procedure of assigning name to the kind and group of organisms to be classified is known by same name all over the world. So the main idea about the nomenclature is to put a name of a particular individual, or we can particular group of individual or particular species, so that we can identify the same organism by a single name all over the world. So as we know that each and every organism have their local names. So we used to call one thing, and in another geographical area the same organism will be called by another name. So to avoid this discrepancy, we used to have a nomenclature system, and this nomenclature system was invented by a very important scientist, Carolus Linnaeus. And Carolus Linnaeus, why I am saying important scientist? Just because he is considered as the father of taxonomy. So he has given binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature means the name of each and every uh, individual will have individual or group of individual will have two names, and both the words are mostly have been derived by the Latin name, and still we are using these names to call the individual. So first name is genus and another is called species. As we have seen in classification that two things have been given in the bottom of the classification, genus and species. So these genus and species are the name of the group of individual, and it was given by Carolus Linnaeus. So we can see that the different organisms have different genus and species. So in case of human, as we know that Homo sapiens, in case of housefly, Musca domestica, mango, Mangifera indica, wheat, Tetricum aestivum. So there is a proper procedure to write the name. So we used to write the genus with a capital, means we start the name of genus with the capital letter. However, the species will be written in small letter, and both will be italicized. When we are talking about the species, so we need to know one important character of the species, as the species are the group of organisms which interbred, means the organism which can produce the individual, or we can say the organism which can produce a fertile individual will be called as species. Why I am saying fertile? Means there are some exceptions also, as we know that horse and donkey used to produce the organism that is called as, so there is one exception also, as we know that mule is produced by the hybridization of horse and donkey, but they are not fertile. So we can explain the species as either they will not be able to produce the offspring, or if in some conditions, if they can produce the individual, then they will be infertile. And this term species was given by a scientist. The name of that scientist is called John Ray. So this one is what the most important aspect of the species. They in most of the examinations they used to ask most of the questions on species, and the scientists which have coined the term species. Now we'll talk about the taxonomical ads. So what are the taxonomical ads? So these these are the procedures or techniques which stores the information as well as specimens or identification and classification of organisms. So taxonomical acts are the we can say the procedure or techniques or information or specimen or any live organism which can be utilized to make the taxonomical procedure. So taxonomical aids. So the taxonomical aids are the techniques and procedure to store information as well as specimens or identification and classification of organisms. So we can say in another word that taxonomical aids are those techniques or procedures or specimens which can help us for the identification and classification of the organism, and it can be utilized in the areas such as agriculture, forestry, industry, and to understand or know the bioresources in a better way. So the first type of, or we can say first example of taxonomical aid is the herbarium. And herbarium is the collection of plant specimens which are dried, pressed, and preserved on sheet. So we can see here, this one is the herbarium. So this is the page on which dried, pressed, and preserved part of tree or plant is present. And generally on the sheet, the name of collector, the name of plant, their identification characteristics, and from where this specimen has been collected, and the date is being informed as a information on this page. And these sheets are arranged further according to universally accepted system of classification. And uh, generally institutes and universities maintain their own herbarium by collecting the specimens from their local or the far away places. So this is just the collection of dried specimen of the plants or trees. And the largest herbarium in the world is the Royal Botanical Garden, which is situated in Kew, London, and it is having more than 6.5 million of specimens. But when we are talking about the largest herbarium or and the botanical garden in India, then it is Indian Botanical Garden, which is situated in Kolkata. The second taxonomical aid is the botanical gardens. So as we can understand by the word itself, is botanical garden means it is a specialized garden or place which is having a collection of living plants, and we use those plants for the reference. And this garden is having the facilities as library, laboratory, herbarium, and museum along with the botanical garden also. And this botanical garden is generally maintained by the government, semi-government, and other private organizations. And the record is maintained in this botanical gardens is by the gardeners and botanists. Now the next taxonomical aid is the museum. So as we know, museum is the collection of preserved plants, means dead plants and animal specimens, and it is maintained by universities and educational institutions. And in case of museums, we used to preserve those plants which we cannot preserve it as the herbaria. Now the next, or we can say the important taxonomical aid is zoological parks. So by the name itself, we can understand zoological parks are the places where the wild animals are kept in the protected environment under the human care, and which enables us to learn their food habits and behavior. And we used to protect the endangered animals here also. and geological parks provide a natural habitat to those animals. And in India, over 200 zoological parks are there, and these zoological parks are maintained by mostly government and by Central Zoo Authority of the India. Thank you. And last is the key. So key is also an important taxonomical aid which is used for the identification of the plant and animals based on their similarities and dissimilarities. And here the selection is done on eliminating the characters according to their presence or absence in the organism under the study. So key is the type of taxonomical aid which is being used to identify the plants and animals on the basis of their similarity and differences, and it utilizes two contrasting characters which are called as couplets. So this chapter has been completed now. Thank you.